Okay, what's good? Support has often been an important part of non-damage dealing, mainly floater type unit hits and overall team building. Dokkan has had plenty of strong support units releasing in this game's history. Today, we'll go over the top 10 strongest support units in Dokkan history. As always, please note that these lists are carefully calculated through an intense and rigorous algorithm. And as always, let's pop off. Now, coming in at number 10, we actually have the Xeno, Super Saiyan Goku, and Super Saiyan Vegeta units of the Dragon Ball Heroes Celebration of 2021. Now, the reason these guys were super strong and super powerful were because they buffed Goku family and Vegeta family by 2 key and 40% attack and defense respectively. They had some solid start of a turn attack and defensive buffs, and alright turn 1 defense for a floater. And then they also stacked attack and defense by 50%, a greatly raised, similar to Tech Ultimate Gohan. They were, for a time, staple runs on the Goku family and Vegeta family. And especially since they came out during the long event meta, it just led them to be overall very successful, as I believe they came out 5 or so months after the GT Legendary Goku event came out. And they were very good in it, as, stacking units with very good support. But yeah, that's Super Saiyan Xeno Goku and Super Saiyan Xeno Vegeta. They're going to come in at number 10. Let's move on to number 9. Now, coming in at number 9, we have a unit who released with the GT Dokkan Fests, which was a great celebration, Golden Week of 2021. It is the AGL Goten and Trunks. Now, you know how the Xeno Goku and Vegeta gave 2 key and 40% attack and defense to Goku and Vegeta family? These guys gave 3 key and 40% attack and defense to both categories, which was uber busted. But ironically, they didn't buff themselves with their support because they're on neither category, because they're both a Goku and Vegeta family category, and Dokkan doesn't mix and matching like a game like Dragon Ball Legends does, for example, which is kind of terrible. They also stacked attack and defense during the long event meta, which was just very good for them, and then they could potentially triple super attack each rotation. And they had a really good link set where there was just a plethora of Saiyan lineage units, right? They were like Tech Ultimate Gohan's best friend. And of course, they worked super well with the GT Dokkan Fests, and they were just a really, really good must-run unit while they were on their game, right? They were at their peak. But that's going to be AGL, Goten, and Trunks. They're going to come in at number 9, moving on to number 8. And coming in at number 8, we have Int Third Form Frieza. Now, Int Third Form Frieza came out with AGL Full Power Frieza, and man, this guy just unlocked a second gear for AGL Full Power Frieza. Because AGL Full Power Frieza was already, in contention for the best unit in the game, competing with AGL UI Goku mainly. And some would argue LR Namek Goku as well. But yeah, this guy he did a lot of damage. He'd build up 7% attack and defense with each attack performed. And then he had a 50% chance to launch up to 2 additional attacks, each of which had a 50% chance to be a super attack. And then he buffed sworn enemies allies by 3 key and 40% attack and defense. And then his super attack effect, he stacked attack and then he raised defense for the turn. And this guy, in conjunction with his super powerful link set, he would just tear events a new booty hole because of, AGL Full Power Frieza locking down slot 1, being dominant, and then this guy being in slot 2 and just laser beaming the enemies to death. He did super good damage and he had solid defense. This is just one of the best banner unit releases of all time, and it's especially odd that he released with Tech Piccolo, who's one of the worst banner unit releases of all time. But that's Third Form Frieza for you. He's just really good. Super, super good support unit. He's gonna come in at number 8. Let's move on to number 7. Coming in at number 7, we have AGL Kid Gohan, who was very, very good back in his heyday. A lot of 2021 units, because I believe 2021 was probably the golden era support units, where all these super powerful support units were just running the meta, it felt like. Now, AGL Kid Gohan gives all allies 3 key and 58% defense, which is just a huge buff, right? That is a lot of defense, and it's very noticeable when you have this guy, right? He was another one of Tech Ultimate Gohan's best friends, and it's why the Hybrid Saiyan team was just a very good team for so long, right? You would make a turtle build, and like you just stack defense with all these characters, right? Tech Ultimate Gohan. You also had AGL Kid Gohan, of course, and then you had the AGL GT Goten and Trunks. You could have Int Pan, and then other powerful units like LRB Pan, the AGL Exchange, Future Gohan and Trunks back when they were good, AGL Kid Gohan. Like there was just a bunch of really, really good options for the team. High School Kid Gohan, like the team was just very, very good. And AGL Kid Gohan, like he was just a massive part of that team, supporting all the units on the team with a powerful, just innate blanket 58% defense. And then he had his active skill, which would further buff them by 20%. Active skill buff for multiple turns. And the condition on it was pretty good, where he'd just have to be 58% or below, and he'd recover HP and get guard for the turn, right? Like all these super powerful hybrid Saiyans had Saiyan lineage, so they all shared a key link, provided that you actually link leveled your units. And overall, like it's just a bunch of really good stuff. Fond memories of that hybrid Saiyan team for me, man. And AGL Kid Gohan, his support gets him number 7 on this list. Moving on to number 6. Now coming in at number 6, we have Int Demon Goddess Toa. Now back when she came out with, I believe, physical Super Saiyan 4 Vegito, she was very good, right? She gave all allies 3 key and 30% attack defense, and then she could, 50-50 chance to get up to 3 key and 40% attack and defense for all allies. And then if she fell below 50% HP, she'd give all extreme class enemies an extra 50% attack and defense and recover 50% HP. And she was just really good, right? She sealed and lowered attack. And this was when, Super Battle Road was relevant, like some of the harder stages in the game. And she was solid enough in the long events. And she had like type advantage against like GT, LGE, and she was, runnable enough in the OG LGE. So like she was solid, like the legendary Goku event. And then she got her EZA. And, she's solid after her EZA too. She mainly does the same thing, except now she's got 50% chance to dodge when HP is 50% or more. Limiting dodge to HP restrictions is kind of cringe, but hey, it is what it is. She's very good, right? She was good for a good majority of time. She had like blanket support where like she didn't need to worry about only buffing a specific type of unit. She just buffed everybody. But yeah, that's going to be Demon Goddess Toa. She's going to come in at number 6. Let's move on to number 5. Now, coming in at number 5, we have the 50% supports. Now, the 50% supports, of course, being, Int Kid Gohan, Int Namek Vegeta, Tech Tien, Tech Second Form Cell, STR Hit, STR Kabe, whatever you want to call him, AGL Pan, AGL Metal Rildo, Physical Ultimate Gohan, and Physical Super Buu. Now, unfortunately, their EZAs didn't really pan out. Like, I feel like they aged out very quick. But back when they, got their initial awakenings, they were very, very strong for a while. They had a leader skill of superclass 4 key 120%, which made them actually very good for Battlefield, right? And they become like main Battlefield leaders because of it. Or super attack effects, because they mainly all did the same thing, right? Some of the stronger super attack effects were, of course, STR Kaba and Int Kid Gohan giving attack and defense by 30% for 9 turns. STR Hit stacked defense. And I believe AGL Metal Rildo sealed, and he might have also lowered attack. Like they were all very good, very, very good units. It's kind of unfortunate that they released right before Red Zone, and they're kind of just like right now, kind of in limbo. It feels like I see like nobody talk about these guys. But I mean, back when they came out, they were highly coveted units, like when they first got their award. So yeah, the 50% supports, they're gonna come in at number 5. Let's move on to the top 4, which are like the infamous 4. It feels like. Now, coming in at number 4, it is, of course, STR Cooler. Now, back when he came out, he was the best TUR in the game, basically far and away, right? He lowered attack and defense on his super attack effect, which was very strong for Super Battle Road. He led the Conquest of Terror, or Terrifying Conqueror, and Transformation Boost category, which was the best team in the game, especially once you added the Blue Fusions on it, who would release, I believe, like 2 or 3 months after he came out, because he came out for Halloween of 2019. I remember that banner, that STR Cooler banner was insane on JP. I think it probably was changed on Global, because that was back when they liked to change Global banners like all the time for like one reason or another. And then, of course, he had the powerful support where he'd buff Transformation Boost allies by 2 key and 30% attack and defense when there was 1 enemy, and then Terrifying Conquerors by 2 key and 50% when there was 2 or more enemies. And then, of course, he could transform on turn 3 as long as there's a pure hybrid Saiyan enemy, which was so free for him back in the day. It felt like 80%, 90% of the fights in the game were against pure hybrid Saiyans. And then if there wasn't, he could transform on just turn 6 for free. Super good. Dominant Link set. Like, he had a good Link set back before the Link level update came out, and then it got just another jump with the Link level update, and he was very good. And of course, in his transformation state, he did, guaranteed crits against pure and hybrid Saiyan enemies, and just a lot of damage, right? It's so much damage, it felt like. And now, after his EZA, he mainly does the same thing, except now he's got a built-in additional if the enemy's attack or defense down to debuff, and then they buffed the transformation boost support from 2 key and 30% attack and defense to 2 key and 50% attack and defense. But yeah, I mean, he was really good back when he got his EZA and back when he first came out. Like, he was really solid, and he aged very well, especially pre-EZA. Like, post-EZA, he kind of aged around where you expect, honestly. He, despite stacking defense, it needing to be specific to the enemy being debuffed was very questionable design, I'd say, and it's unfortunate for him. But yeah, I mean, that doesn't undercut this guy. Like, this transformation boost team was so good for so long, and it was because of STR Cooler supporting, being good, floating, right? And it led to the, the debate between STR Cooler and Tech Ultimate Gohan, who you got. I mean, were you on STR Cooler's super good team and his awesome support, or were you on Tech Ultimate Gohan's overwhelming, eye-popping power? It really was a heated debate. But that's STR Cooler. He's going to come in at number 4. Let's enter the top 3, which are the infamous of the infamous. Now, coming in at number 3, we have AGL Turles. Now, AGL Turles is, the first just really big support unit, like the super big coveted unit that would just buff all your allies' APT through the roof, right? He gave all allies 3 key and 40% attack. He debuffed superclass enemies attack by 15%, and then he'd have a 25% chance to transform and lose his support if HP was 80% or below, and he had a really good Link set. He was just, like, he didn't really do anything but support. Like, he didn't even have a start of turn attack and defense buff prior to EZA. That's actually ridiculous. And then he got an EZA. His EZA, when he first came out, was pretty powerful, right? He gained the ability to support allies with defense if there was a superclass enemy. And he also got the ability to stack attack and defense on his super attack effect while he was in his, his Fruit of the Tree of Might form. And he didn't lose his support. He lost the number support, right? But he still gave all allies key. And he was overall, his EZA didn't age super well, but his EZA was A-okay, right? Like, it was solid, about what you could expect. But yeah, Turles, I mean, he was ran specifically, even with no leader skill, just for his super dominant 3 key, 40% attack support. But yeah, that's AGL Turles. He's going to come in at number 3. Let's go on to number 2. And coming in at number 2, it is Physical Kid Buu. Now, Physical Kid Buu, even more so than Turles, has just always been run because of his super powerful 50% attack and defense support prior to his super EZA. Like, he did nothing, like, he didn't do anything but support. And he had an HP restriction on it where he had to be 80% above. After his initial EZA, he still gave only his 50% buff when HP was 80% or below, but if your HP fell below 79%, you could also get 30% attack and support, but you'd lose the key support. And then after his super EZA, he just became a dominant beast once again, and he's still very good. He now gets very high amounts of damage reduction, or, like a solid amount of damage reduction. And then he buffs all allies by a monster amount. He gives superclass allies 3 key and 60% attack and defense, and extreme class category allies 4 key and 70% attack and defense, which is just monstrous buff. And that's provided that HP is 70% or more. And then he loses a little bit of support if your HP falls below 70%. And it's just, he's very good. Very, very good after his super EZA. He, of course, has really good links after Link level update. And he's on a solid amount of categories. And I mean, he's just going to be, like, Physical Kid Buu is just, he's the infamous support unit where you just run him because of how dominant his support is. It's very weird, right? Kid Buu does not seem like a support unit type of unit, but hey, here he is as a super strong support unit, the most infamous support unit in this game's history. But that's Physical Kid Buu. He's going to come in at number 2. Moving on to number 1. And at number 1, you've got STR Bulma. STR Bulma basically had the game in a chokehold for like a whole year. It felt like it was really like 6 to 8 months, but she had a dominant run, like just an absolute dominant run. And she was a must run for so long, it felt like. Now, she had some really good super attack effects, right? She gave herself 50% attack and defense on both 12 and 18 key, and she also gave herself a 50% chance to crit on 18 key, which is really good. She got guaranteed guard for 7 turns, which is just makes her really good. Very strong attack and defense buffs. She gave herself 7 key right away, so she was really strong with key, despite, you know, her having basically no relevant links. And then she created her own orbs, rainbow orb change for herself. And then she also built up damage reduction up to 77%. I actually don't know if that damage reduction builds up on her off rotations. I low-key forget. I used to know. I'm falling off. But anyways, she also was a nuke where she gets 17% attack and defense per key sphere obtained. And then, of course, the super powerful with 5 or more key spheres. She gave all allies 3 key and 37% attack and defense for 2 turns. So she was 2-turn support, which is just dominantly, stupidly broken, right? Like, that's just like, stupid strong. And she also got a guaranteed additional super attack with 7 or more key spheres. But like, I mean, the support just, it's so stupid. Like, you could feel when you ran her versus when you didn't run her, right? The Power of Wishes category that the LRGT duo, the LR-STR GT duo of the 8th year anniversary had, like, that team was like a night and day difference when you had Bulma versus when you didn't. Like, Bulma was just so good. And she, to me, felt like the best unit in the game, even over LR Orange Piccolo and the GT duo, just because that support was cracked, man. Like, it's so strong. Like, I mean, Bulma, she really just had that game in a chokehold. And I think it's very, very fair, very free to give her the #1 spot on this list. You know, she is the best support unit this game's ever seen, and she's the creme de la creme, the zenith of support units in Dokkan history. She's gonna come in at #1 and round off my list. Let me know what you thought of my list down below, if you thought any unit was snubbed, or if you think that the order should have been different. But as always, if you disagree with the algorithm, just know that you are unfortunately incorrect, my friend. But that's gonna do it for me. Thanks for stopping by.